You like that, Brady? I like when I surprise you.
Welcome to our Film Fathers podcast, the definitive podcast about fatherhood, film, and fatherhood in film. This is Jelani, and with me as always are an American jerk-off and a guy whose subscription to Jugs magazine just ran out, Martin and Brady.
I've been in prison for 3 years. My dick gets hard if the wind blows.
I think that with your IQ, you're unarmed and still very dangerous.
I figure you got to be the dumbest guy in the world, Joe. You're trying to save the life of the man who ruined your career and avenge the death of the guy who fucked your wife. This week, we finish up our Genre June selections with none other than buddy action comedies. We go from the early 80s to the early 90s with 48 Hours, Tango and Cash, and The Last Boy Scout. We get a taste of some of the greats from our childhood with Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy, Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell, and Bruce Willis and Damon Wayans. A lot has changed in the movie since the early 80s, but one thing is for sure. We do not get tired of this genre being executed well. Do they make movies like this anymore?
Not quite.
They don't make movies like
this.
a couple of these anymore.
I wouldn't say any of them are made like this anymore.
There's definitely some 80s,
Staples?
yeah, coming out. There is. I hadn't seen.
I've never seen 48 Hours.
So I'd never seen all of it. I had definitely seen part of it.
I've
But
seen parts of it,
It's
I
been
think.
a long, long time,
Yeah.
and I watched that first, and I was like, "Holy shit!"
I did too.
And Mary sat through it, just kind of being around, and she's like, "This is terrible," and it's just like, there are also a lot of very problematic
Yeah.
or I guess,
Questionable?
yeah, there's a term in there, and I'm not coming up with it, but there is it is of 1982.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll say that.
It's early for Eddie Murphy, right? Like
First.
Is this first movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he doesn't get top billing, right? Nick Nolte does. I noticed
He
that.
does
I
on the
started,
second one, on
Yeah, I
another
started the
48
second
Hours.
one, which I enjoyed. And I didn't finish the second one, but I was like, it kind of
Rehashed the same
yeah,
thing?
it kind of rehashed a lot of it. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, my first time watching 48 Hours as well. And yeah, it felt more like a 70s movie to me than an 80s movie, you know? It's still like, it's always like those first few years of any decade, there's like that chain where it still feels like it's the last decade, and that's this movie for me.
So they said that for 48 Hours, Eddie Murphy got paid $450,000, and Nolte got $1 million. And for another 48
Still pretty
Hours,
good.
which was 8 years later in '90, Nolte got $3 million, while Murphy got $7 million.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
yes.
he was huge
and that
by
was
then.
Yeah.
But again, and this was the jump off,
Yeah.
or I guess maybe the jump to Beverly Hills Cop.
I mean, Beverly Hills Cop's so good, so funny. This wasn't that funny, right?
No.
Did it have a
There were parts. It definitely was. I don't think it took advantage of what we now know
Of
Eddie
him,
Murphy to
yeah,
be, but
right. which is fair. I mean,
getting
He didn't write it,
understanding
right?
what he it was a vehicle for him to be in
Yeah.
movies, but I don't think who knew what kind of
I'll tell you what it was
stardom
that
awaited.
that made me think that it made me turn off another 48 Hours was he starts singing the Roxanne thing. He does the Roxanne bit again.
Oh no.
I'm like, why? That wasn't really that funny the first. Do I
No.
not get that? Did you guys understand? Like, what is so funny about that?
I thought it was just a random song that he was just singing
I think it's
loudly
that
and
he-
annoying.
jail, right?
Yeah, just no. I think it's
Also-
just Eddie being loud and annoying.
Which you kind of know as him.
Yeah.
that was something that he kind of owned for a
I
while.
just didn't know if that was like specific song was something that he's known for.
No, I did not
But-
see anything about that. But so there were no shortage of just outright racist jokes, tropes,
Yeah,
everything.
Comments.
And then randomly, that was where Mary was like, she's like, oh man, and then she's like, well, some things don't change. Like there's unfortunately there are it's not like racism went away, but then like they reconcile. There was like a reconciliation moment. I don't know if that was like part of Eddie Murphy like being in it. Like I'm fine, like say whatever you want, but like Nolte comes and is like, sorry for all that talk earlier. I was just acting tough. Like, and I'm like, wow, I don't know if I saw that coming.
right.
When they're sitting down, he's
Yeah.
like, I didn't mean all that.
Also, in the same movie, I was like, oh, okay, that it didn't make it all better, but I mean, it definitely surprised me that they even like kind of address it that way.
Yeah, it's to your point. I think yeah, that like you said, it was all the time, and it stays there, and you're just like, oh, okay. And all the things that happened was, like you said, I didn't find it as funny as I think people would claim. Like, I would not put this as a comedy.
Right, and the plot wasn't great. Like, I just felt like it was a silly. It felt like that Seinfeld when they're writing for the show and they're like, and the judge makes him his butler. It's like that wouldn't happen in real life. I feel like this wouldn't happen in real life. Like
you
they're really
feel
gonna
like it
go
wouldn't
in,
happen in real life.
I know it wouldn't, but I'm saying like what kind? It's just this unplausible. Like why would they take him out and because he knows the guy and he gets out of jail?
Falcon. Why do they want the suitcase?
I feel like it's like The Rock, It's like, we need to get, but they do it a lot better than The Rock because it's like some guy that's been into maximum security prison, and they're making sure that he's watched. This is just like, we'll just let Eddie Murphy out for 48 hours.
He's out going to the bar with you, riding in the car.
He's your butler,
holding your gun,
right?
Stealing the switchblades.
The funny part was him trying to get laid the whole time. I think that was kind of funny.
Yeah,
that's realistic.
There were funny parts, but it definitely, correct. I would say it's probably not. It's more on the action than it is on the comedy.
Yeah.
But it, I still felt like there were. I saw a note where some people say this is like the first like buddy cop movie.
I do feel like there are some tropes that probably get adopted from this one, like like the other guys parodies this kind of thing, and the angry captain I think was done very well here.
Did you recognize the guy who played the angry captain?
So I looked him up because,
but I didn't look him up.
Frank McRae plays Captain Hayden. Yeah, what was he from?
Do you remember the movie Batteries Not Included?
Yeah,
he's the quiet guy. George, I think is his name.
Was he like? Yeah.
He's been obviously not younger,
right?
But
yeah, I remember.
But he's like the exact opposite of this character. Like he's the one that doesn't say anything and doesn't talk. And I just remember watching that movie like a lot. I don't know why. Like that, and I feel like Cocoon.
I watched Cocoon a lot, but I'm trying to remember Batteries Not Included.
Where the
aliens... with Jessica Tandy,
both... and Hugh Cronin.
Hugh Cronin.
I definitely saw that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Cocoon-esque.
One question I had before we get too deep into the movie is, what is the alcohol that you pair with coffee? Whiskey?
It could be whiskey.
Whiskey, I think,
or it could be a nice Kahlua,
Irish
or some
whiskey.
Irish cream, some Drambuie, according to The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Irish whiskey and coffee is definitely a beverage. Yeah.
Okay. I always see
Irish coffee.
You always see them in the.
That's the name of it.
There you go.
Yeah.
I always see it in like these movies like this where they're always like he's got the flask and he's filling it up at 8:00 in the morning. I'm like, what do you add?
I mean, I think you go Bailey's if you want to
do they use in
just
Elf? Yeah, Bailey's Irish cream. I think is my preferred because it's
also,
weaker.
Yeah, it's a lot weaker and probably exactly.
You don't need sugar then because it's sweet. But yeah, I'm pretty sure what he thinks is syrup. When he's like, "Oh, you have syrup," he pours it in the flask. I'm pretty sure it's whiskey. In Elf,
it would make the most sense.
Yeah.
So when Billy Bear comes onto the screen, I was like, really? Can they not?
Billy?
Can he only be known as Billy in every movie he's in?
I know, from Predator.
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, there's racism there, too. They keep referring to him as the Indian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right out of the gate. I know, I don't...
What happened to him? I've only seen him in these two movies.
I think he died.
Oh.
Is he? I think at one point he was running for Congress in, like, Oklahoma.
Oh.
Really?
He's going the way of...
Way of Arnold and Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse, yeah.
Yeah, he was or either Congress or like a House of Representatives.
Okay.
I knew he was running because that's one of the things that
Sonny Landham
find is hilarious that like 3 of the actors from Predator all tried to go for public office or
next Shane Black's going to run.
Right?
he died in 2017.
Oh, okay.
Not to say he did not
Yeah. Achieve office.
Make a political run.
Yeah. Cameos abound.
Yeah.
In this. Again, it's early, so of course you're going to see cameos all over the place, but
well, it's not really a cameo. It's just
they were at the time.
They were up and coming.
They were in this movie.
Yeah.
as
John-
like a highlight of their life.
right, as they're trying to make their way.
Yeah, the
Jonathan
big one.
Banks.
Big one's Jonathan Banks. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one we
Who-
knew for sure. With
who
hair.
I never, with hair, who I never really liked because I don't like him in. He's in Beverly Hills Cop 2, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. And in this, he's just the character is whatever. He gets killed off pretty early on, but I love him in Breaking Bad.
Of course.
And, yeah,
And
he's
that's
so good.
That's
in
why I
those.
think for all of us to watch him back to
Yeah.
realize that this old guy had a career, right? Like for a long time.
And it's kind of funny to think about it that way. Like think about Mike
Ehrmantraut.
Thank you. As this cop, like this was him back in the
Yeah.
day when he was actually an actual cop from the
In
show,
Detroit.
which makes it kind of fun that way.
Yeah. Agreed.
James
Who else?
Remar.
James Remar, for sure.
Where was the first time you saw him?
Oh my gosh. First time. I mean, this might be the earliest movie that I can think of.
So
I
this
don't know,
wouldn't have
the
been
Girl Next Door, maybe.
My first would have been
He
Mortal
plays a good-
Kombat.
he plays a good scumbag. That's for sure.
I think he was in either the Twilight Zone movie, and I think I've seen him in that, or Tales from the Crypt movie or something like that. There was some like anthology movie that I've seen him in before.
And for you, he was in The Warriors.
The Warriors, which is the
I've
same
never-
director.
I've never seen
Walter
that.
Hill.
Ajax is his name.
Yeah.
didn't we do the Warriors?
No, but we should.
We did. There was a movie that like straight up replicated.
Oh
the
yeah,
Warriors.
what was that with the radios and the?
Remember?
Yeah, I said that it was.
You
like
and Tom both
Warriors.
called that out.
What? Why can't I think of it though? What do you mean with the radios? That's
I
not
didn't say
ringing
that.
a
Don't
bell.
look at me.
Oh,
Jelani
yeah,
Where they
you
were
did say
they
it.
were announcing like where
No.
everything was.
Oh, hey, you boppers! That's what they say from the Warriors.
Yeah.
But
I feel like it was
What
one
was
of the
the new
ones we
movie?
did with Tom in October.
damn it!
Listeners of the pod are screaming in their cars. We know what
Screaming the
movie it is.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah, but I remember
John Wick 4. John
Oh,
Wick
it was
4.
like John Wick 4,
is
Got it.
that's the one. Had to
That's-
Google. Had to Google.
That's
Don't mind
what it was,
saying.
yeah. Anytime you have a close up
Yeah, you guys were.
of a mouth on a microphone broadcasting to people.
Yeah, multiple people were
the
like, "Oh,
Warriors.
this is straight up like John Wick 4 was like
Yeah.
apparently straight up like the Warriors."
Warriors.
Yeah.
Now I don't think I could watch the Warriors because I've seen John Wick 4.
I mean, there's only a few great parts, and one of them is
I'm out.
the other guy from 48 Hours.
Nick Nolte.
No, the other cameo. We've seen him in like The Crow. We don't have him written down here, but
Brian James.
Oh, the guy from Blade Runner?
no, not Brian James.
David Patrick Kelly.
David Patrick Kelly. Thank you. He's very famous in the Warriors. He's got 3 bottles
The
on
bottles
his fingers.
clicking.
And, Warriors, come
Yeah.
out and play.
Oh, that's him who does that.
So yeah, so he's with same director. I don't know if he wrote it as well, but so he's
Walter
pulling
Hill.
a couple people from movies that
And was the Warriors
done.
80s?
it's
Like
it's
80?
like a 78
79.
78,
79,
79,
okay.
So that was like the third thing that Remar was in. So that was written and directed by Walter Hill.
yeah. I think it's big known for.
Oh yeah, So I would say I was looking, Johnny. I don't even know the first time I would have saw Remar, but I mean, you definitely have seen him. He's been in a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a pretty lengthy like resume. So
Yeah, absolutely. And then my cameo that I just thought was silly was when he goes to let Reggie Hammond out of jail and he signs the paperwork.
Yeah.
The guy who takes the paperwork is the cop from Die Hard that says send in the car when they're doing the SWAT. He's the SWAT team leader.
Okay.
Because all I remember is he's like,
Trust
send
you.
in the car. And he like screams at it. It's actually one of his known force. But yeah, because he always has that like weird look on his face when he says it. And
There's
Again,
there's
because
lots of people that you just kind of recognize, right?
right. Was the hotel clerk somebody? I felt like it could have been Holly Hunter, but I think they would
no,
have
it
called
was
Holly
not.
Hunter out. if
It was not Holly Hunter. I'll
Right.
tell you that much.
Yeah, no, I didn't recognize.
I don't
her.
believe so.
Because Raising Arizona is 88, right?
Around
yeah,
there.
around there, 87, 88.
I just say that because trying to place like where she might have been in her career at that time.
Yeah.
It wasn't Holly Hunter, Johnny.
Yeah.
We can guarantee that.
Um,
Yeah, so this movie was definitely like, I would say, the worst of the three movies that, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
And I brought this one to the table, but I knew it was supposed to be one of the early. Like,
I'm glad you did because I don't
Action
think
comedies.
I'd seen it, and I think it is. Even if it's not good, it's worth watching and worth discussing in this genre. Like you said, it's been an influential part for
Right.
movies that maybe we picked.
Speaking of which,
Yeah,
what'd you-
I picked Tango and Cash. I loved this movie as a kid. I'm pretty sure I saw it, about a year. I was probably like 9 or 10. But I think I probably watched it on, ABC or something, Channel 7. So maybe a lot of the swears were taken out.
things are different now.
But yeah, this movie also did not. I remembered a bunch of it, but I also don't feel like it's a very good movie. I do enjoy Kurt Russell. Don't really enjoy Sylvester Stallone in this.
I think I'm right up there with you on that assessment. I definitely thought I had seen it, but I did not remember a lot of it.
I remember. Yeah, I remembered.
I'm
a bunch of
confident that I've seen it, but
Yeah.
I did not remember a bunch, and I definitely didn't know that Terry Hatcher was in it.
I do. I remember the whole sister angle.
yes, as did I.
And the way they do the whole Three's Company thing with what are they doing? Oh, he's just giving her a back massage. But it sounds like, it's just like, it's a lot of silly comedy in this movie, I think.
Yes.
Sillier than I remember it, or, when I was a kid, I thought it was probably brilliant, but now not so much. But yeah, Terry Hatcher looks great.
Yeah, her film debut.
Was it?
Yeah, film debut.
Yeah. She was a MacGyver. And I was
Right out of the gate, I was like, was this the inspiration for Fast and the Furious? They got the tanker truck out on the road, and it's like, oh man, it felt like there was a possible, inspiration for Vin.
Yeah, it's like absurdity left and right, kind of in this movie, right? Like you're saying, Fast and Furious type stuff, and yeah, not that the plot has to be good in this kind of movie, but if you're not gonna have a great plot, you got to have some good comedy, which this didn't really have. Maybe a little bit at the time, but then it also doesn't really have like a lot of great action, or maybe at the time it was good action scenes. I don't know.
I'm going to have to disagree with you. I felt like this was the best one that we watched.
Oh, okay.
And I feel like the comedy was right on par for 89.
Okay.
I think the action was, a hit or miss. It wasn't off the charts amazing, but them trying to break out of prison, them trying to escape through the roof, and
yeah, the zip line was
line
kind of
stuff.
good. I watched.
And that's the part that I
remember.
remembered. I remembered the kick into the dude getting electrocuted, and then the zip line. That part stuck out. So that's why I know I've seen the movie. But
Yeah, I really liked Fubar.
they were trying to make that a thing.
They were definitely trying to make that. I mean,
Isn't that from Full Metal Jacket though too?
Is it?
Is that where it's originally from?
I think it
I think you
is.
could be right. It really felt like they were hammering this thing home, though. It's like
Or
you kept-
Apocalypse Now. I feel like it's from a Vietnam War.
No, I think you're right. Full Metal Jacket. I think it's right.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe because I always associate it with this movie, but it could be from a bigger or better movie. What about the like James Bond Q type character? I forget his name. That was with the car.
with the car and all the gadgets and stuff. Again, the thing that I loved about this was it doesn't take into account any of hey, if you're walking into a police facility, like everybody would know you're just escaped from jail. Like you would have been caught immediately. Movie's over. They're like, don't worry about that. He doesn't. Nobody knows this guy. They
Different
hang out
time.
in the basement, right?
And Jack Palance just has cars with monster trucks or whatever at his work site. Like, what is this work site that they're running into this thing with their armored vehicle, and there's all these other vehicles that are just ready to go, ready to battle.
Yeah.
at a drop of a hat. Yeah,
I had a note while I was watching it. I was like, the mice analogy. I'm surprised no one's ever reused that. It felt so stupid to me. Like he had
The two mice.
He
in the-
pulls the mice out,
It was
and
such a stupid analogy.
I was like, what the fuck?
puts them in a maze.
So I that was my note. And then as I was looking up notes about the movie, it said Jack Palance came up with the idea of his character to use rats during a visit to the LA petting zoo with his grandchildren several weeks before filming. The director and cast were surprised when he turned up for the read-through with 2 rats in his briefcase.
No one tells Jack Palance no.
No one was keen on the use of the rats metaphor, but Palance had already had the rat maze table made at his own expense, so no one felt like they could challenge.
My God. That makes so much sense.
It really does. That's why I had to share it. I was like,
Thank you for casting some light on that, because
it was awful. I was like, what are they?
Yeah.
It made no sense at all. No.
If you just put him in a cage, it would make more sense than the maze, right?
Let him fight it out.
I was like, is there another animal in this maze? It's like waiting to end the lives of these rats. I don't know.
I like Jack Palance in
City Slickers.
City Slickers.
I'll tell you what,
and
I'm out on him.
Batman. That's it. There's that. He's either underutilized or way overutilized with the mice thing.
Same with James Hong.
Yeah,
Like, why is James Hong in this?
That's a great question. He could put it on his lengthy resume, but there's zero reason he needs to be in this movie.
I just thought it was silly.
It was silly fun.
I
watched
can't
it with
believe
Colin.
you thought it was the best of the bunch.
Yeah,
because,
I'm very surprised. At
because Jack Palance alone makes it not. But it was definitely an improvement, a 7-year improvement on our first one. And Kurt Russell's great in my opinion.
I do love Kurt Russell.
You just, in my opinion, I don't know how he translates. I don't know if that, like, if you showed this to someone younger than us that had no clue and they would find enjoyment in Kurt Russell and or the movie. I don't know how that.
I don't think there's an
Gets
actor
through.
that translates to what Kurt Russell can do. Maybe
Maybe
McConaughey.
He was a
Son?
little jacked up too.
right now.
No, in
No,
that
in-
movie,
in this,
he was a lot more jacked than I anticipated.
Yeah.
Could you maybe McConaughey? But I
Wait,
don't know if McConaughey.
you said his son. Someone
I was
just
just
said he
joking.
plays. There, dang, it might have been Redding. There's a show or a movie right now where he plays. Wyatt Russell plays young Kurt Russell, or vice versa.
I heard something about this. But
So
I
they're
don't know.
they are in a show essentially playing the same person right now.
Oh, really?
I think it was Redding who told me, but I remembered it so well that I don't know what said.
Your mind isn't what it used to be, you know.
It's true. What are we talking about?
Monarch, Legacy of Monsters.
That's the one. Because
Kurt
he
and
asked me if
Wyatt
I saw it.
Russell
I was
share.
like, no.
Yeah.
It's a Godzilla thing, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was this the first car with Nas? The truck?
Yeah, because he asks, right? Doesn't
Yeah.
he say it's nitrous?
He says it's nitrous oxide.
I told you, dude. Fast is all over this.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a Fast and Furious franchise in
Dude,
this.
you get lockup. You almost have, if they were fighting, it'd be Hobbs and Shaw. I mean, you got.
The whole scene in the basement in the laundry room, like, was there cells in there? Because weren't there parts like people were trying to reach
talk
out
about
for
a
'em?
free for all for people coming in and out.
That made zero sense.
No.
And there's just always steam, right?
Oh, that's
when
a-
the cops come out, they just hide behind the steam. No one will see me if I take a step back into the
Palance just disintegrates into the.
Yeah, like what kind of prison
Right.
what kind of operation are they running here? And why wouldn't they just kill him at that point? You know, it's all that
Just
stuff.
toying with him.
Stop toying with them. I
Monologue.
don't remember them getting electrocuted like that because that would have probably done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The vats of water and
Yeah,
like
and yeah, Brian James, is he whatever Irish
Australian?
or
I
is
thought
he
he was Australian.
So does he have an accent?
No. I feel like I have a note on. I don't think I kept it. He showed up and just did that one for his and Stallone really got a kick out of it, and so he actually wasn't even supposed to have many lines, and they made the character bigger because Stallone was so enamored with his accent.
It's like, whoa, I really love the way this guy talks.
It all checks out with what we think.
yeah.
Oh,
it was
man.
just silly.
So
Like,
yeah, he's
all
better
the way
in this
around.
than he is in 48 Hours.
So the first movie. This is the first movie in which Stallone stars as a policeman who is framed for a crime he didn't commit. What are the other two?
Demolition Man,
Boom! And
Copland.
no,
Judge
we should
Dredd.
do Copland though.
Copland's good.
Judge Dredd,
Judge Dredd. I'll be the judge of that.
Jelani's favorite.
I've never seen it.
Dredd-esque movie.
No, is it?
Yeah, he
You
did.
prefer
better.
Judge
I prefer
Dredd
that
over
over
Dredd.
Dredd.
There's no way.
Yeah,
we talked
remember?
about this.
We talked about it.
But I didn't think
like
you
it.
actually meant it.
I didn't like Dredd.
He didn't like it because he's wrong.
Dredd didn't have Rob Schneider. I mean,
It had so
That's
it
who
didn't-
we all need.
Wait,
to
no,
know.
he's in that. He's in Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
I thought he was only in Demolition Man.
No.
Oh, okay.
Stallone-
Maybe I should watch Judge Dredd.
Stallone
Judge Dredd.
demands him.
Wait, but I'm still I'm stuck on this. So you didn't like?
You know, we talked about
I
it
know, but-
on the pod.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was your contention. I think you were.
Oh, I remembered it.
Yeah, I believe. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't exciting.
So if you're going straight thumbs up, thumbs down, Judge Dredd, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Okay, all right.
John-
I heard it here.
All right, so hear me out. So if you, if you had to pick one of two to play,
A or B.
I could get if both of them were like, okay, I like them both, but
another fun tidbit was there were 7 people in this movie who later appeared on Seinfeld.
wow.
Terry Hatcher.
You know her, Terry Hatcher, Real and the Spectacular. Mm-hmm. James Hong,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Louis Arquette.
Seinfeld, Fall.
Louis Arquette.
Who's that?
Let's not get deep into this stuff.
Okay, just
Roy Brocksmith, David Byrd.
well, this is riveting since we don't know who any of these people are in either Seinfeld
You're supposed to
or
know.
the movie.
You're the one. Richard Fancy and Clint Howard.
I was going to say Clint Howard's got to
Howard.
be one of them.
How old were you when you realized that Clint Howard was Ron Howard's brother?
I feel like pretty early.
Yeah.
Austin Powers, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. It was definitely not this movie, but I remember his character with the slinky, and there's no way he tied him up with the slinky, right? He could have gotten out of there.
Not if you tied him up. That was a pretty long slinky, too.
Yeah. And then the whole self-referential Rambo's a pussy line, just like
Yeah, that
There's
caught
some-
me off guard just
there's
because I
some
wasn't
fun,
expecting it.
I suppose, but
That whole opening scene was ridiculous. Both of them. When you're introduced to both characters. Like,
Yeah.
how are you're stopping a semi with a...
right.
What
was he?
38,
He wouldn't
right?
stop.
It's like it does. Oh, we're gonna shoot 4 bullets and then they're gonna slam on the brakes and fly
going.
through the windows. Then I'm gonna shoot the tanker full
Then,
of.
he's fine, by the way. That guy's like, not only is he alive, he's like still threatening Stallone.
Yeah, and then the overzealous. I want your badge. I want all this. And like, come on, guys. Like,
Where we go back to the captains in this movie, not done as well as Frank McRae, but we had Captain Schroeder, played by Jeffrey Lewis, who we've seen before. He's the guy from. He was in was it Simon and Simon, the show or something? Do you know what I'm talking about?
yeah,
No?
exactly.
Is that right? Is that him? No.
I
guys
have
don't remember
no
Which
idea.
one?
The actor's name is Jeffrey Lewis. He was Captain Schroeder. He was one of Tango and Cash's captains because they
Yeah.
both have different ones. And then Captain Holmes was played by Edward Bunker.
Eddie Bunker.
Yeah, that's what he was. He was actually listed as Eddie Bunker in this movie. But yeah, it's just the same trope, right? That
Yeah.
goes, the pissed off captains. I'll have your badge, and send him to jail in this case. But
Again, it's very full of tropes. It's very like silly and very very 80s.
it is of
One
of
of-
that time, like late 80s.
One
right?
of
Yeah.
those tropes being that it had, I said, potentially the most, as I stated before, early 80s movies, especially action, you're going to get a gratuitous nudity shot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It has potentially the most forced one ever. Not the room full of naked dancers just walking around.
The car.
The car. Having sex in a parking garage
Yes.
Yeah.
while there's like this chase
chase.
going on and popping up. I was like, oh my God, it couldn't be more forced at this point.
Not needed
God
and
bless-
nothing to
God
the
bless
story.
late
And then they
80s.
had the other one. I was like, you really didn't even need that. You had a whole other scene of topless women
Definitely
walking
didn't
around.
see that when I was watching it on ABC.
Missed that one.
You know what? That was an easy edit out
Yeah,
because
right.
it was
No,
literally
Doesn't
unnecessary.
change the story at all.
But as we progress from the late 80s to the early 90s, my pick was The Last Boy Scout from 1991.
Yeah.
Which
This one took me back.
it did. It did. And what I didn't realize until this viewing actually was that it was a Shane Black screenplay.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. I was like,
Did
oh,
not know
Shane
either.
Black's an EP. I was like, oh wait, Shane Black wrote this. I was like, whoa.
Now looking at it from that lens,
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense,
It
right?
makes all
you
the
see
sense in the world.
Lethal Weapon, you see Nice Guys all
Oh,
True
over
romance,
this.
all of them.
Very much like an early
Well,
noir kind of thing, which
And-
you guys know I love.
and with that though, like his script apparently was very different. It was like they said this shooting was insanely like tumultuous. There were disagreements all over the place, people being fired. Like they changed a bunch of the script because he had a much darker tone with like a lot more violence, and like almost the whole second half of the movie was essentially altered. And they actually had the studio had the same person come in that they did for Tango and Cash. I didn't really dive into it, but they had the same person come in and touch it all up and make it more
Humorous.
well, trying to get the rating down. Because both of them were like NC-17 at one point, and they were trying to get the rating down into a more whatever.
Did you say True Romance for Shane Black? Or someone say?
I did not.
Yeah. I did.
Because it's Tony Scott.
Tony Scott.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah,
Tony Scott
sorry.
directed this.
Directed it.
And he directed True Romance.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shane Black didn't write True Romance.
Which we talked about that when
Yeah.
he was when we did True Romance.
But
and
this movie is dark too.
Very
like
dark.
True Romance, like lighting wise, like that's the darkest football game I've ever seen in the beginning of this movie. Right? Like even under the lights, it's like everything was just in shadows.
Yeah.
There's no
And-
football game like that, right?
No, and well, now definitely there would, but back then,
It
with
looked like a high school game.
yeah, with like the limited like TV coverage, now everything would have been lit for
Yeah.
HD and all that stuff.
Right.
Plus, Friday night
even back then, I
is a
think.
terrible night for football, for professional football. Like everybody's at high school games.
And that song was terrible too. But with this movie, loved it when I first saw it as a
Loved it.
kid.
Same.
And then I think I've only seen it as a kid. For the last like 20, 30 years, I think I'm thinking, it's not that good a movie. It probably don't. But then I watched it for the second time only just, last night. And yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
It's not perfect.
Way better. Not
but it's,
perfect.
But it's
way better than I thought it was.
It's good. It's
Yeah.
still it
So
holds
I'm
up.
very
in my
surprised that
opinion.
you say Tango and Cash.
Me
better.
too.
I just because so when we did this, I was looking from the lens of comedy.
Yeah.
And I think
Okay.
Tango and Cash is just sillier.
Okay.
And it's funnier. This is.
I
like
think
you
you
said,
already
it's good,
knew
but
this
it's-
movie was good
yeah,
too.
I knew this
Like,
is
it was
good, and it's
surprised
just
me.
dark though. I
Yeah.
like when you see it, like the story, like you said, Brady. The storyline is
Johnny
dark.
does not mean literally. He means
I
figuratively.
mean
figuratively.
figuratively. I
Yeah,
mean
I mean-
emotionally.
He's yelling at his daughter. Even the ending, he's like still like bitching at his wife.
Right.
But they love each other. Everyone's just traumatized. And
Yeah,
terrible
and
people.
everybody's like, I'm gonna get shot in the hand. I'm gonna, break some guy's face and kill him.
Randomly got a TikTok of the scene. This is like a week before we watched the movie. Of the scene of him coming home and saying who's in the closet. Like I literally just watched that scene like a week prior because it had been come up on my TikTok, and I actually remembered it, but I couldn't remember what movie it was from at the time.
Head or gut.
Head or gut.
It was-
I didn't know this is where that's from, but I've said that before.
I was like,
many
I think
times.
this is Die Hard 2.5.
I don't remember being Bruce McGill in the closet.
Oh.
What are you doing? Cheating on Bruce Willis with. Is that his name? Bruce McGill?
Bruce
Yeah,
McGill.
Bruce McGill.
MacGyver.
Speaking of MacGyver,
MacGyver alum.
Jack Dalton.
You said you didn't know this was where Head or Gut came from?
No, yeah,
Yeah,
and obviously I've seen it in this movie before, and I've said it, but I did not realize that was where it was from.
But on that note, and I'm trying to make sure I had it, but Shane Black wrote this before becoming a standalone film. The screenplay was written as drafts for either Lethal Weapon 2 or Die Hard 2.
Yeah, I mean that makes so much sense.
It does, and that's why I wanted
Because-
to call it out because I think it is very. I think you could literally slide this into like the Die Hard
John
universe
McClane,
and
yeah,
tell
for
me
sure.
that I said this is really not John McClane at all.
Yeah.
Like I mean,
the way he treats Holly, or his wife in this, and yeah, that's very very much a trope of these movies too. It's just how terrible they are. Like Nick Nolte with women, Bruce Willis, the way he treats his wife in this movie. Yeah, very much. That's why it's funny, again, not to bring up the other guys again, but it's just very funny to see, not that they like flip it completely on its head, but the way he
Will Ferrell and Eva Mendes.
he's a dorky cop, but his wife is just loves him and treats him great. It's just it makes it funnier when you know what these normal movies are like with these 80s and 90s action movies that it's sending up.
Yeah, and then even introducing Damon Wayans into it was...
I'm pretty sure that's why I watched the movie.
Yeah.
I loved Damon Wayans.
Oh, I loved all the Wayans. I loved In Living Color.
I was a huge In Living Color fan. Like I watched that
Everyone
way
did,
more
right?
than I watched Saturday Night Live at that time.
For sure.
Yes.
At
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
time, like it felt like I was on something.
I mean, every skit was good,
It-
whereas SNL was hit or miss.
well, and I was trying to remember like the characters that I remember. And Jim Carrey was a big one, right? Like Fire Marshal Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But with Damon Wayans, like Homie the Clown was obviously
Homie the Clown.
a huge one.
We were obsessed.
Handyman, which not sure how well that plays these days. But in the 90s,
Men on Film.
Men on Film. Oh my
Z
god,
formation.
Men on Film was so good.
Hated it.
I feel like that's where Brady really kicked it in. He's like, "Yep, I'm right there with you."
Guys, like he was so good.
He's
Anton
very
Jackson.
funny. What?
As
What was it?
Anton Jackson was like the homeless guy. He walked around. He had like a jar of piss. I mean, he was like,
yeah, that was him. That was his character. Oh my god, I remember that guy. Yeah,
so like I'm
pick
pretty
his nose
sure
or
this is
something.
why this movie appealed to me, not because of Bruce Willis being in it, because Damon Wayans was in it. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I get to watch Damon Wayans. I mean, Mo Money. I definitely watched Mo Money a couple
Yep.
years later. I think I saw. Was it him and Willis? Were they the baby voices in Look Who's Talking To? I think
I
they
know
were.
Willis is in
I think
it.
it's him and
I think
Wayans.
it's
might
right.
be.
I think it's him.
Yeah.
Something about like, yeah, you playing. He asks if you playing doctor with
Doctor.
her or something like that. I played doctor with her.
But yeah, so huge fan of Damon Wayans. Not even really like, and then so he essentially isn't necessarily like this huge comic relief. I would say kind of goes back to that 48 Hours thing. He's actually not even like as funny as like kind of like Eddie Murphy. Wasn't really like this huge comedy.
Arguably, Bruce Willis is funnier in this movie.
Correct.
Than,
Right.
Yeah, I'd say anyone arguing is losing that argument. But
Yeah, it was pretty. I remember.
I liked Damon Wayans just as an old washed out
Yeah,
NFL.
I think a lot of things worked. Like I think you said it great. Like it's not perfect, but a lot of things definitely did work in this, and it did make me laugh at certain moments.
I mean, the dude literally
it was
shot
the
a guy
best-
on the field. I mean, I think we could say it's not a perfect movie.
No, yeah. It's not. It's
Founder
just,
of
it was just,
Tybo, Billy Blanks.
was he in this?
He was the one who shot himself.
That's literally the dude who shoots.
Oh, fun. God, I didn't realize that was him.
Yeah.
Oh,
Apparently, also Morris Chestnut's in it somewhere. He's like a locker room like ball boy or something.
Oh, it's just in the background.
yeah. But yeah, again, this is another movie where you see future stars and like Halle Berry.
Dude, Halle Berry.
Halle Berry. I totally forgot she was in it.
I would have never guessed that she was in it, and I've seen this a good handful of times. She was just not anyone. Boomerang is what I thought was the first time I knew her from.
Yeah. So then, yeah, she's in this, and then you see, just the whole like plot line. Again, the scene that I always remember is when he gets kidnapped again. Like he gets kidnapped like 4 times, and he's like, "Don't touch me again, or I'll kill you."
Yes.
And then the guy punches him in the face, and he, shoves the nose bone into his head.
I mean, I was obsessed
What a
with that.
fucking baller move of all time.
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, I remember my cousin told me, he's like, yeah, he just shoved his nose bone in his brain. I'm like, you could do that? Like, whether you can or not, I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
yeah.
But in
the
this
way,
movie, it was
just
awesome.
like the guy in the movie. He's like, "You can do that."
Somehow you don't see that right all the time. Like they own this thing, and no one touched it again.
But yeah, I mean, I mentioned it's a kind of noir-esque. It's totally that's totally what they do. They knock the guy out and they bring him in, and he's like, "You would have killed me already." But then instead, they're explaining their whole situation, or they're asking him to do something. But it's done in a modern, good way that's somewhat believable instead of just killing him like they thought. Because it falls apart a little bit at the end because I was thinking,
Yeah,
as if you're putting it under scrutiny. They have a great plan to try to frame him for killing a guy, but then all of a sudden they're like, fuck it, we can't do that. Let's just shoot him. Let's forget about the C4. Let's just shoot him from the tower in front of everybody, where we can't blame it on Bruce Willis anymore.
Right.
It's like, okay, whatever.
And who were they trying to shoot?
Bradburn, the actor, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you
I
remember?
forget his name.
It's Harris from Major League.
From
Yeah.
Major League. Yeah, that's right. It's Harris. Yes. He's been in. Some
Yeah,
other
he
things,
was
but
saying
that's-
the senator's like name.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, Brayburn.
Brayburn. Yeah.
The one
And then
he-
it's a little silly that he does the jig, but I didn't hate it. I totally, as he was doing, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember him doing that. It was
Those things stick out
Yeah.
to you, but yeah, like some of the things that were essentially like on the original one, like they made that Milo was apparently a much bigger, like the fleshed out character in terms, and he was way super evil.
Yeah. Calling everybody by their full name.
Marcone, Shelley Marcone also, like, he had a job as director of snuff films. Milo did, and his, like, he would kidnap women violently, kill the whole family, like all this. It was a very, very dark, like, turn.
So,
Kind of like Nice Guys.
They walked it. They brought it back a lot.
Or like
A lot of boat. The whole, like, end of the movie was supposed to all be on water, boat chase, like everything was supposed to be on the water.
I think they should redo it.
Dude, we trust Shane Black.
We trust Shane Black. Let him do it the way he wanted
Make
to.
an NC-17 movie, you bitches.
that's how there always was in like the 80s, right? You always had the head boss who never really got his hands dirty, and you had the person who was just like, you know, the dog that they let off the leash, like Mr. Joshua, which I believe is Jonathan Banks in Beverly Hills Cop. Or is it Gary Busey?
Gary Busey, you're talking about Lethal Weapon. Isn't that Lethal Weapon?
Oh, is Mr. Joshua is in Lethal Weapon?
I think so.
Yeah. Who's the one that they hold the flame over his hand?
Yeah, I think that's Lethal Weapon.
Is that Lethal Weapon?
It's a Shane Black character.
Okay.
I'll look it up, though, for you.
But you might be right. Because it might be Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, Mr. Joshua, Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon. He burns.
Yeah, it's Gary Busey.
Lights the match under his arm, and he doesn't flinch.
Very much a crazy character. Yeah, so that's probably what he wanted for, what was the guy's name? In this
Milo?
movie? Milo. For Milo.
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's just these tropes of the 80s and 90s and stuff. I felt like I was looking for more comedy that I didn't see here. In this watching, and I just
again,
felt like
the guys we talk about both these movies, they brought in Eddie Murphy and Damon Wayans, who were both comedy kings at the time they did, and they weren't really asked to do a lot of comedy.
Yeah,
weirdly enough,
it's a lot of deep drama.
Did you catch the line? Your show ace. Your show ace. It's also from Shane Black written Monster Squad.
Oh yeah.
I missed that.
Dip it into the well.
At least they didn't overwrite that.
But yeah, Martin, I love that you said that you kind of just were like still really, really enjoyed it, because I do think this movie in no way has it like not hold up. This feels like it plays for.
Yeah, I just feel like it hasn't. Like you said, you saw it on some like a video clip of it.
Just that one.
I
clip.
just haven't seen anyone talk about it.
No idea why.
No one brings it up.
Maybe we said we were going to do it, and then my phone heard me, and then they.
Now all of a sudden, I guarantee it's going to be back in the zeitgeist. Someone else is going to
do a
podcast on it.
Did you guys? Last note. Did you guys catch who the football consultant was for this film?
Football.
One AC Cowlings.
Oh.
Who's that?
Oh, drove OJ's white Bronco.
Drove the Bronco.
Oh.
Al Cowlings.
That Cowlings.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Funny.
So no, I did not. I didn't
3 years later, he would be a little bit more famous.
I did not stick around for the credits for this one.
You know what? Also, something crazy. They're worried about attendance in seats. I think the thing that would get people out of the seats is the fact that Billy Blank shot 3 people on the field and then killed himself.
Yeah.
Legalized gambling. I'm surprised they even have
the
football.
stadium seemed full.
If that happened in real life, what would happen to football? If somebody really brought a gun onto the field,
it'd be shut down for a long time.
Be shut down for a while. But
yeah.
then this movie's like, who cares?
We're still we got a game next week.
These are all scheduled out and planned. We
Free agents. We're all pissed off about free agency in this movie.
How long did we take a break after 9/11? Like a week?
Nah, maybe.
Honestly, I think it was like a week off, and then So yeah, they would.
Life goes on.
Games got to be
except
played.
for the 3 guys that got shot,
right? And the one guy that shot himself.
Oh man, it's there's some out there stuff, but in general, broad scopes, I'm in.
And I like the title. I don't think I did so much as a
the way he
as
signed
a
that
kid.
card was such a great
yes.
call out. I totally agree. I actually wanted to say the same thing. I felt like that was such a great reasoning of why the title is what it is, and then they drove it home with at the end. He said,
"Be prepared."
Be prepared. Is like his motto.
Also very cool. Yeah. It's a good movie. Well written.
As always, remember, lack of pussy makes you brave, but lack of podcast makes you sad. So subscribe, like, and follow wherever you listen. Thanks, and save it for the pod.